Good morning and welcome. Today we have a fun little thing that I'm excited to share with you just because it's fun to watch. I actually have watched this before, just for full disclosure. I've only watched it once and then I was towards the end and like, I should have saved this, but I didn't. Anyway, there was a segment that The Daily Show, the show on Comedy Central with, well, used to be Jon Stewart, Trevor Noah, and a bunch of other people now, did a little snippet on my town of Duluth, Minnesota. So kind of fun to see. And, well, let's watch it together because it's basically highlighting the fact that Duluth is said to be one of the places that people are going to kind of avoid climate change and weather shifts and that kind of thing. And if you live here, the weather is shifting a lot, all the time. This is a delightful winter, best winter of my life, but I'm a little afraid what we're going to pay for next year. Anyway, let's check out the segment. And no, as you will see very shortly, that they're not saying those palm trees are in Duluth, Minnesota. I have a little pet peeve with a certain broadcasting company that put a video complaining about stuff happening in Madison, Wisconsin at the Capitol. And if you watch the video, there are palm trees in the background. There are no palm trees in Madison, Wisconsin. So just saying thank you, Daily Show, for truth in advertising.
Super hurricanes, drought, wildfires turning New York City the color of Sunny D. Across America, climate change is wreaking havoc in driving people from their homes. And experts say this is only the beginning.
This is in the order of millions of people.
So where might they go? Climate researchers say the answer is in and up. Think Duluth.
Wow, so millions of coastal elites like myself will one day be flocking to Minnesota?
Is this the city of the future? Let's find out. Am I moving? I can't feel my legs. I'm not moving. Why was there not a jacket in my suitcase?
To learn more, I met with...
Yes, why wasn't there a jacket in a suitcase? So this, I did have to say, when I was watching this, it was 5 below. Oh no, it was 5 above, whole 10 degrees warmer. And I was like, what day did they film this on? Because I think we've had a couple days that have been this cold. But typically, weirdly enough, not the snow. So I was like, and I found out they filmed this last year, which makes me feel a lot better about my recording, that sometimes when it doesn't get out on time, now I feel a lot better. They have like a whole staff of people to put their shows together. I have like 2 people, hardly 2 people. Okay. Anyway, and we all have jobs and internships in school, yada, yada. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's get back to...
I can't feel my legs. I'm not moving. Why was there not a jacket in my suitcase?
To learn more, I met with Chief Sustainability Officer Mindy Granley.
Yay!
So tell me about
Sorry, Mindy. I know Mindy. She used to work at my college when I was in my undergrad, and she worked with me on a couple of my projects and was an amazing and creative person to work with. So she moved to this job a few years ago, and it's fun to see her.
Or I met with Chief Sustainability Officer Mindy Granley.
So tell me about Duluth.
Well, Duluth is a great city. We're on a great lake. We have lots of fresh water.
Do you mind if
here.
we finish this inside? Because if I don't go inside in 7 seconds, my heart's going to explode.
Of course.
Okay, come on, let's go. Oh my gosh. Let's go. So what were you saying about Duluth?
Duluth.
What were you saying about Duluth?
Well, experts have called Duluth a climate refuge because we're a place that's fairly safe from the worst effects of climate change.
You're talking about in 50 years when this climate change thing like really gets bad, right?
A few people are moving here now from California because of climate change.
So you're telling me people are moving here from the good states?
Yes.
Mindy claims Duluth has big advantages, like 10% of the world's drinking water in Lake Superior and room for up to 10,000 new residents, because it's basically that barren ice planet from Star Wars.
Okay, I am super curious. Where do we have room for these 10,000 new people? I feel a little complicated about this discussion, just so we're all clear. Yeah.
10,000 new residents, because it's basically that barren ice planet from Star Wars.
Some people can handle 80 inches of snow every winter, and
80 inches of snow?
over 80. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Do you think those big UN climate change summits would be more effective if people knew that the alternative was having to move to Duluth?
Well, there's really no bad weather, there's just bad clothing.
Bad clothing. So people are still wearing Balenciaga here.
We don't know what that is.
Okay, I do agree that the clothing is very important, but there is, being outside sometimes in the wind when the snow is coming at you and you're trying to walk down the block. There is nothing, well, there's feels like there's not enough to shield you. I guess I really should add snow goggles to my experience of walking down the street. I haven't gotten any of those yet, but I probably should.
Clothing. So people are still wearing Balenciaga here.
We don't know what that is.
Despite this vast cultural divide, coastal refugees are getting ready to flood Duluth. But are the locals prepared?
There's a migrant caravan of Californians coming. They're bringing their spin instructors, their kombucha makers, their oat milk. You ready for that?
Okay, we already have kombucha and oat milk, just to be really clear.
I don't mind having a few more friends.
Any advice for refugees that are coming here?
Oh, sure. You need to dress really warm.
They can't dress warmly because then they would lose their job as Instagram models.
Well, it's going to be hard to be a bikini model here.
I mean, you're laughing, but this is important to my culture.
Your culture.
It felt like we were speaking two different languages, but how deep was this divide?
Polo or rugby?
Ooh, rugby, for
Why?
sure.
Why?
Because I like sports that...
No, I don't mean the sport. I'm talking about names for children. Polo or rugby?
Neither.
I love it.
Are there any members-only exclusive clubs here
Well, there's Sam's Club and Costco.
so I can do cocaine in the bathroom there?
I even got some words of wisdom from former Duluth Mayor.
I need a list of what places they were at, because I feel like I know where these are and I can't place them.
I even got some words of wisdom from former Duluth Mayor Emily Larson, seen here in a press conference last July.
Duluth is gritty and resilient and real. We work hard. We really care about each other.
That's going to be tough for some of these people in LA because they don't work hard and they don't care about each other.
But the first wave of Californians are already here. So how are they surviving?
It does feel like another planet sometimes.
Meet ex-Californian and environmentalist Jamie Alexander.
We packed into a camper van thinking we were going to drive out here and spend the summer. And then wildfire season of 2020 happened. And I decided to move my family here because of climate change.
Let's be honest. Okay, there's no Dulutherans here. Is it Dulutherans? Dulutherians?
Duluthians.
Duluthians. All right, let's be honest. There's no Duluthians here, okay? This place sucks, right?
It doesn't. I love it here. I want to live in a place where it feels real.
People say that Dulutherans, Dulags, are more real people. A New Yorker spits in my face, it feels pretty real.
Yeah. I mean, I think what is meant by that is here, you're connected to your neighbors. Everywhere is going to experience climate impacts. If a climate-related, weather event happened, would you be able to lean on your neighbors?
I've lived in New York for 7 years. I don't know my neighbor, and I don't want to know my neighbor. Next question, do you have a winter jacket for me? This is not cutting it. And my BMI is like under 2%. You know what I'm saying?
Jamie told me to really understand Duluthians, I would have to walk a mile in their shoes, even if mine were nicer.
These boots are Louis. I'm not going to get snow on them, am I?
You probably will.
You ready to do it?
I'm ready.
Let's go. Shoot. They're kind of hard to walk in at first. Okay, there goes my suit. Hey, those look like huge, almost rats.
They're deer.
Do they ever take the pizza out of your hand when you're in the subway or anything?
No.
Subway. There are people that call them rats, the deer, because they're very frustrated with them and how they treat their gardens. Subway. I wish.
Do they ever take the pizza out of your hand when you're in the subway or anything?
No.
No. You're lucky.
Duluth was starting to grow on me, but there was just one problem.
The idea that there's like a climate-proof city is A, it's not true at all, and B, it's dangerous because every place on Earth is already experiencing climate impacts, and climate change is happening now, and people are making huge life-changing decisions because of it.
Then what the am I doing here? I left my wife and family for a week to come here, and it's not even a real climate refuge?
No.
Damn. I knew the only thing that could cheer up this coastal elite was hitting the spa. But unfortunately for me in Duluth, Even the spa's terrifying.
We had to remove 30 inches of ice so that you can go jump in it.
Oh my God.
And your body is gonna tell you you're gonna die.
Yeah.
But you're retraining some of those neural pathways in your head to say, hey, I can handle hard stuff.
Yeah, I can handle this.
Going in.
Maybe once I get used to it, the cold isn't so bad.
I want to be that. I want to be that person, and I just. There are a lot of. We have a lot of little groups around here who do cold water therapy and go jump in the lake, and I feel like that's something I really want to do, but I feel like I need a gateway process to get there.
Going in.
Maybe once I get used to it, the cold isn't so bad.
I'm frozen to the thing.
Well, at least I can go back to New York. Oh, God damn it, that's my car!
Much credit to his bravery of diving into the cold water. There have certainly been a lot of articles that have talked about, Duluth being like a climate refuge, like they're talking about. And it's an interesting conversation because it brings up a lot of like questions and, and there's a lot of different feelings about it, right? Like on one hand, it's really interesting and having more people, like, good for our economy in a lot of ways, which I totally do get, and also very challenging for our economy in other ways, especially for the people who live here and work here. For instance, one of the conversations that's happening in a lot of different places right now is just the aspect of there are people who are coming in from other cities where their, income is much, much higher than here, and they're able to, pay a lot more for houses. And I haven't done my due diligence of research to understand like how many people this actually is and what's really happening. But this is what I have heard is happening here. And I know I've in some of my previous life and jobs heard this happening in other cities too, right? But, the house cost of living and houses and housing is just going up drastically, right? And I know some of that is people are coming in from other places and being able to pay higher amounts and overbid on a house, and the people who live here, who work here, can't afford to rent a place, buy a house. It just gets kind of difficult. So it's one of the conversations that it just gets very complex. Again, not an economist, right? But to bring Duluth up as a whole so that that isn't an issue for people, so that people have housing in places they can live that they can afford and that kind of thing. So one of the challenges is people, the conversation of people coming from out of state and other places. And we have a lot of our own residents who are having problems finding a place to live. So we have a much bigger homeless problem from my perspective, and I think in general that I see. Up until the last few years, I have lived on a block where I never had people living, sleeping in doorways. And now that's something I see a lot more commonly is, people taking advantage of a little shelter of a doorway to sleep because they have nowhere to go. So, I mean, it's a complex conversation, but it is kind of heartbreaking. I overheard, this is a number of years ago now, but I was overhearing a conversation in a coffee shop that I was sitting in of people talking about the fact that, some of them have lived here all their lives. They've served their community. They love Duluth. And one person in particular said that she had lived here and this has been home and it's a place she cares about and like I said have served. And she said that the only thing I wanted is when I retired I wanted to live in a place that I could look over the lake, and she said there's no place that I can afford in my retirement to do that. There's all these places going up, but they're really out of reach for people who have lived their life, doing things like being teachers and whatever, right? And we need people to do those jobs. I know some people will make the argument, well, you just need to invest smarter and make more money, and you've lived your life wrong in a sense because you should be there at retirement. But that's not, if inflation wasn't the way that it was and things weren't going up the way that they were, perhaps this person could afford to live where they want to live. And I don't think they were necessarily, just overhearing the conversation, weren't necessarily looking for a fancy condo. I think they were just struggling in finding a good and reasonable place to live out their old age. And that, to me, is kind of sad. So, and trust me when I say that I get that this is a problem everywhere. So this isn't like a Duluth, Minnesota issue, right? But it is an interesting issue no matter where you're talking about. So lots of thoughts, conversations that I would love to have with people who are smarter than me about all of this. But I think it's a fascinating conversation. So fun to see them having some fun with my fair city. So, all right, I think that's it. There could be a multi-hour conversation to be had about this piece probably, and I'd love to hear other people's perspectives and thoughts. We live in very complex times right now. On that note, thank you all for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching. And until next time, take care and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.